Hello, and welcome to the Say Yes to Holiness podcast. I'm Christina Simmons, your host, and today I have a wonderful guest with me, and I'm really excited to introduce you to her and also for her to share with you an initiative that she is a part of that I think has been a long time coming and is really needed in our society right now, but particularly within our Catholic communities in order for us to truly be given the chance to know more about God, but in a particular way for us to grow as families together and become more holy. So, Jessica Thornton, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks, Christine. I'm really happy to be here today.
Awesome. So, where are you dialing in from?
Dallas, Texas, and it's absolutely beautiful here.
Well, wonderful. Well, just kind of, it was interesting. I was reading your bio that you have on your website, and it talks about a girl who loves books. And I'm looking behind you, and I'm seeing
Yes,
tons of books. Um,
yes.
so what has been some of your favorites that have been instrumental for you on your journey?
Um, I was about 10 years old and I met my great uncle Jack for the very first time, probably the only time. And I remember he came and he brought me a very thick copy of Little Women, and I fell in love. I loved books growing up. My first job when I was turned 16 was at my local library, shelving books. I later went on to become a librarian. I've also taught first grade. I've homeschooled. Um, I just love story, and I am passionate about children's literature. I
Mhm.
think I prefer to read children's literature. I think it's better written than adult literature in
I
most cases.
agree. Oh, definitely. I would definitely agree on that. I'm a huge fan as well. So, you made mention that you've been a first grade teacher and that you worked in a public library starting out and different things. So, how is it that you got to be where you are and what you're doing today?
Well, this is pretty much my dream job. I get so when I did work in the public library system, I did have purchasing power. So I get to spend the state's money on my collections, and I had youth paperbacks or puzzles or puppets. Or one year I had fire safety, and that was like my dream job, to shop with other people's money for children's books. And now I get to do the same thing, but from a Catholic point of view, which is my absolute favorite.
Mhm.
And then the other part of that is that the public library system, I'm sure you've noticed, has changed a lot over the last 3 decades. And maybe it's not as welcoming to a Catholic worldview or as sensitive to what we're looking for to feed our families as far as literature goes.
Absolutely. So you've kind of alluded to it, but what is it that you are doing now? What exactly is it? You obviously get to go buy books for
I get to
people.
buy books.
There you go.
I am the content manager for the Lion and Lamb subscription box, which is a kids book subscription box. And there are secular kids book subscription box, but Lion and Lamb is specifically for the Catholic child in a Catholic family. And that doesn't mean that every book in the box is from a Catholic publisher or even a Catholic author, but they will all mesh with our Catholic sensitivities, our worldview. There won't be anything promoting any idea contrary to our faith.
hmm well, that's absolutely beautiful. It brings up the question, which I think many parents struggle with, which is how do I discern what is appropriate and what is not, for my child to read in order to, as you said, help support a Catholic worldview. What are some of the questions or some of the discernment process that you use in order to select books?
So I feel like in general, a good plot will probably have sin in it. I mean, just think of the story of
Mhm.
George Washington chopping down the cherry tree. Sin is committed, but it's really the idea of how is it treated. And kind of my mantra is it about good people doing good things or people trying to be good? Like if it's
Mhm.
one of those two things, I feel like it really fits. And it also can't promote drug culture or alternative lifestyles, anything that's going to be offensive to a Catholic family, traditional Catholic family values. So,
Mhm.
so basically, you're going to have to read everything your kid wants to read, or you're going to have to go to somebody who's truly trusted. And oh, I forgot to mention, for 10 years, I blogged book reviews of secular books for Catholic parents so that
Mhm.
you could see kind of like a common sense media for books. And then there are some really wonderful books out there that are being published in the secular world. It's just harder to find them.
Mhm.
So I read a lot. And I read a lot of kids' books. In fact, my daughter just started a series, and I'm like, oh, you can't read the next one until I read it first, because that's
Mhm.
how we are in my family.
Oh, well, that's awesome. And that was something where, so not to delve into what potentially, particularly since you're in Texas, could be, landmine territory. But back when the Harry Potter books were first being brought out, I still remember the huge uproar of, do you let your kids read them and are they
Right.
evil, etc. And for me, the first thing I did was exactly as you said. I read the books. And one of the things that drew me to them was that reality that you just spoke to, which is people trying to be good and to do good things. And the other part is that you cannot read, for example, the Harry Potter series without seeing all the imagery, Christian imagery that is
Right.
throughout. I mean, in the
Right.
first book, I tell people all the time, I'm like, if you cannot read the scene that goes on with Harry in the Forbidden Forest coming upon whatever it is that is, drinking the blood of the unicorn,
Hmm.
and hearing Ferenz the centaur telling Harry about it, and you don't go, oh my gosh, I'm reading from Corinthians and something's
Right.
wrong.
Right.
But that all being said, I think it's wonderful that there's someone like yourself who's out there who can take the time and be that trusted advisor for a parent and say, hey, I've read these and I can tell you, I can assure you that you're not going to find anything in this box that, is going to help your child, or I should say, would point your child someplace other than what is good and true and beautiful.
Exactly. That's good, true, and beautiful. That's what we're going for here.
Oh, awesome. So, how is this tied into this book subscription tied in with Catholic Ventures and Catholic dot store?
Catholic.store. So Catholic.store is where you will go to subscribe to the Lion and Lamb book box.
Okay.
And this is just one piece of that company, and Catholic.store is another piece of Catholic Ventures. There's also Catholic.church. I'm pretty sure every parish has a website on Catholic.church. And then there's Catholic.health. So there's lots of pieces of the pie there, but I'm solely concerned with Lion and Lamb, which is the book box, which is the
Mhm.
Catholic subscription kids book box. Comes out 4 times a year. And they chose the dates, they kind of bent the seasons toward the liturgical calendar. So the
Mm.
first box of the year comes out in February, which is right in time for Lent and Easter. A box comes out in May, which is Mother's Day, Mary our Mother. June is the Sacred Heart, leading into summer, which is just a whole parade of marvelous saints days.
Mhm.
Then August, back to school, fall. It's not exactly a liturgical season, but
Mhm.
then the final box of the year comes out just in time for Advent. And
Okay.
it's an Advent Christmas box as well. So ideally, there are going to be some books that are seasonally appropriate to the time period that the box is received.
Mhm. That's awesome because that really helps then being able to enter more fully as a family into that liturgical season.
Exactly.
Oh,
Right.
wonderful.
Oh,
So
so
go ahead.
go ahead. I was just
No.
going to talk about the box a little bit,
Mhm.
which I wish I had one with me. It's like a really cute pizza box, and you open it up, and inside the box, you're going to have your books, but you're also going to have stickers. They have these vinyl stickers, and this graphic designer is creating these awesome stickers. My kids have them on their water bottles. They've gotten Our Lady of Guadalupe. They've gotten an image of a lion and lamb and a cross, kind of like religious imagery for the pop culture water bottle sticker
Mhm.
trend. And then also discussion questions. So every book comes with a little card with discussion questions so that as a parent, it kind of helps you eke out the Catholic themes in the book. And maybe for the older box, older boxes, the kids that are older, you might not have time to read the 4 or 5 novels that come in the box, so you could just read the discussion questions and have a hint of what's going on and maybe quiz your kid and find out if they actually read it or not.
Mhm. Awesome. Well, before we jumped on, you said that there were different age levels.
Right.
So could you
So
share about that?
absolutely. So the youngest level is 0 to 4, which is Duckling. I'm trying to see. I have some books here. I have a couple examples. So it might not this came out in the Christmas box. It's not the exact I think it's not a padded board book in the box, but it's a board book. And so this is a Christmas book. It's got Christian themes, but it's also about animals, and it's appropriate for a baby or toddler to sit on a lap. It's short. There's not a lot of words on the page. It's engaging enough for a parent to read it 1,000 times and not want to burn it. So that's an example of a duckling book. So they're designed to be read out loud. They're storybooks for lap children. Then the
Mhm.
next level is lamb, which is 5 to 8. So you have an emergent reader there, someone who is learning to read on their own. It's going to be a longer picture book. It's going to be more text heavy, more plot driven. And then some of the books in that box might also be early chapter books for the independent reader. I have a daughter who's 8. She could definitely read a chapter book, but I've had other children who at the age of 8 were not there yet. So there is a little bit of a variety in the lamb box. Again, those books are perfect to read out loud, and especially the chapter books, perfect for bedtime, chapter a night. It's wonderful. Then the lion box is, well, they say 9 to 12, but I'm really encouraging 9 and up because we have had a lot of feedback about some of the books in the lion box appeal to all ages. Adults have really enjoyed some of the books that come out in that box. And as I said before, I find children's literature more interesting and more fun. So here's an example of something that came out in the Christmas box. It's Little Lord Fauntleroy, but I don't know if you can tell, it's been reprinted with kind of a trendy, cool,
Right.
modern cover, and even the font has more space than one of the original
Mhm.
texts. So I also am a parent of my son has dyslexia, so I'm really aware of like white space on the page, margins, fonts. What can a child read easily? And what is not going to, sometimes the kid opens a book and if the text is so close together, they don't want to read that. It's
Mm.
just, it makes your eyes weary. So we're really aware of everything from the font to the binding to the content, trying to pick the best books for your child.
Mhm. Awesome. So, on a practical level, say, you were saying about your daughter, being able to read some chapter books and independent reading
Mhm.
and stuff. If you find that your 7-year-old is more capable as a reader and they're not really being challenged, with the lamb subscription, are you able to bump them up or bump them down?
Oh, totally, totally. You can absolutely do that. But I would caution parents for when you bump a child up, the reading level increases, but also the content increases. There are books in the Lion box that are going to deal with tragedy, loss of a parent, heavier themes than you would find in a typical Lamb box. And honestly, you know your child best. I can't say what your child is emotionally ready for in literature as well as you are. I know that as a child, I was terrified of the movie Wizard of Oz. My children think it's the silliest thing on earth. It really depends on the child, but absolutely you are able to tweak those age ranges to we're not going to
Mhm.
check anyone's ID to see who's getting which box.
Exactly. Oh, I can totally identify with every, child is different. So like our youngest, son, I mean, couldn't go near the Lord of the Rings movies
Oh,
just
right. Yeah.
because it would just, and it wasn't the violence, it was the depiction of the orcs and the evil that was
Yes, as
there.
a child, my parents tried to read The Hobbit to me many times, and I would just like, they get to the trolls, I'm like, I'm done. I cannot, no. And
Right.
now my kids have all seen The Lord of the Rings and think it's totally, I don't know. I was more sensitive than they were, but like you said, every child's different.
Absolutely. So, what is the hope for Catholic Ventures and the Lion and Lamb moving forward? Mhm.
So we really want to put good quality books that don't offend your Catholic values in the hands of your kids. And we want to promote literacy. Everything that goes in the box, the stickers, the discussion questions, We've had conversations about future things, add-ons that we might put in the box, saint coloring pages or bookmarks to cut out and color, or maybe even easy recipes that go along with the liturgical themes of the box. But it's really just about promoting a love of reading. We want to foster a love of reading in your family, and we want to make it easy for you to find quality books.
Mhm.
But we also are aware that many Catholic families have very similar libraries. I own Little House on the Prairie. I own the Chronicles of Narnia. And I assume most people who subscribe to Lion and Lamb already own those books. So I'm not going to put those books in the Lion and Lamb subscription box. My
Mhm.
goal is to find something a little off the beaten track, something you probably haven't heard of or haven't invested in yet that is worthy of shelf space in your home as an heirloom that you can pass on to generations. But
Mhm.
nothing as mainstream as Chronicles of Narnia. Like it's going to be something a little more obscure, a hidden gem.
Awesome. What is one of the hidden gems that you've been so thrilled that you were able to find and include in a recent box?
Okay, so like this book, I had never read this one, and I'm very familiar with this author, Frances Hodgson Burnett. As a child, I read The Secret Garden and The Little Princess many, many times and seen the movie versions, but I had never read this book. And when I saw it reprinted with this really fun new cover, I read it and it was amazing. It is a very virtuous story. It's not incredibly archaic language. I have run into some older books where it's a bit of a struggle to read something that's sometimes older books have the language or they'll type out colloquial speech. It's more difficult to read. But this book, The Little Lord Fauntleroy, I thought it was wonderful. And this is something I had never read before. And I hope everybody enjoys it and loves it. And I really like the new cover and the new layout. So that was one. I'm trying to think of some other ones. Oh, there's a box that has a book from the 1970s, a Caldecott winning book, award winner. So it won an award for pictures and it's going in the Lion box. It is technically a picture book, but it is about architecture, specifically church architecture. And this book was written in the 1970s. So I'm going to guess that most people don't have it on their shelves. And I don't know that you can get it at Barnes and Noble today, but this is a wonderful book about church architecture that I think will really appeal to children in that 9 and up age group.
Awesome. Well, I'm excited. I want to get my own subscription because I'm just like you. I love reading children's literature. So I might get a subscription for our grandson and then, get a subscription for me for the 9 and up category.
Right. Yeah, that would be good.
Uh, so one of the things that I wanted to ask about is it sounds, as you said, this has been like your dream job. But what have you found to be challenging, most challenging for you in regards to your spiritual journey with the work that you do?
Um, Humility. It
Ah,
takes a lot of humility. I'm not my own boss, and everything I choose gets vetted by a whole board of people, and I have to learn not to take it personally when they don't agree with some of my book choices, or maybe they want to tweak my discussion questions in an area that I hadn't thought of before. So it takes a little bit of humility and a whole lot of tact because, like I said, I'm part of a team and just really relying on other people to make sure that the books get ordered and put in on time and the boxes get assembled. And there's a lot of other people working on this project as well. I just get to do the fun part. I get
mm,
to pick the titles, and then other people are responsible for the actual like filling the boxes and printing it or margins on the discussion question cards, things like that.
oh, awesome. No, it sounds like I would enjoy your job as well. And so on your own journey to becoming a saint, what has been one idea or habit or practice that's been key for you in order to continue to strive to grow in holiness?
Are you familiar with the surrender novena?
I am
So
absolutely
the
with it.
a priest
Yes.
gave me the surrender novena in confession and told me for my penance just to read it through once, not to do it 10 times,
Mhm.
whatever the 9 days it is. And I just, that novena, I feel like God is speaking to me personally. And I have since then experienced that when I do surrender, especially the big decisions in my life to His will, his will, the outcomes are so much better when I surrender my will. And it's been pretty amazing. We lived in Chicago for 22 years, and events occurred that we had to move to Denver. I was not happy with that move at all. Surrendered it. It ended up being a wonderful move. And we made so many friends. We had such a wonderful time there. Then more events transpired in a chapter of our lives where we moved to Texas. Again, surrender it to God. I knew it was going to be wonderful. It turned out wonderful the last time. It's wonderful now. We are so happy here in Texas. And once it's like let go and let God, he really does do it better than I do. I mean, his timing isn't always what I want, but he does do it better.
Oh gosh, yes. So very true. I think one of the little things that I absolutely love about the Surrender Novena also is, the fact that the author, Father Dulindo Ortolo, that Padre Pio actually referred to him as the saint. Why are you coming
Wow.
to me? Go and visit. He's much
Right.
more holy than I am, and
Right.
so many people are not aware. But I love the fact that the Surrender Novena has become more popular,
Right.
and it really has been instrumental in my own life as well. So always beautiful to hear about that.
I order packs of the cards from Catholic.store and I put them in greeting cards. I pass them out all the time. Anytime someone tells me they have a problem, here, you need to say the Surrender Novena. And I love the imagery in it. There's one day you read about Jesus carrying you in his arms across a turbulent river. And imaginative prayer really resonates with me, and I can be that child in Christ's arms. He really is carrying me through troubled times, and it gives me so much peace when I say that.
Mm, beautiful. Well, if anyone out there who's listening hasn't already found the Surrender Novena, or even if you found it and you haven't done it in a while, I invite you definitely pull it out and experience the graces that come from it. So this is a loaded question, I know, especially for a bibliophile like yourself. So, what's your favorite book or books? I'll let you have three. How's that?
Ooh, 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 ooh. Three favorite books, like my desert island books.
There you go.
Like if lived on a desert island, what would I want to read over and over again? I'd have to say, ever since high school, when we read A Tale of Two Cities,
Mm,
that is one of um, I love Charles Dickens, but A Tale of Two Cities isn't just an English book. It's also set in France at the time of the French Revolution, and the streets are running with blood. And there are some incredibly heroic people, unlikely heroes in that book, who are self sacrificing and making the ultimate sacrifice. Kind of a Maximilian Kolbe type situation happening in that book. But that book has always stayed with me as like a book I can reread over and over and over again. And I always mean to commit to memory that first paragraph. It was the best of times, it was the worst of times. And there was a king on this throne and a queen on that throne. And it starts out almost poetic, and it's a wonderful story. So definitely A Tale of Two Cities would have to go with me. One book that it's a short series of books that I really love that I don't know if we'll be able to get for the Lion and Lamb box is the Wing Feather Saga. And I think it's 4 books and it's relatively new. Everyone I tell about this series, I explain that I believe this is the Narnia of our time. And it is another story of family with young children discovering that they are exiled from their homeland and that they are the royal family, and how one son is going to inherit the throne. One son is charged with being the guardian of his brother, and a daughter has her own role in the kingdom of what her duties are and how it all works together. It's a wonderful series. It's by Andrew Peterson, and I know he's Christian. I think he's evangelical, but I'm not sure. But that book, that series of books, has really great heroes, and the heroes are children, which is a wonderful thing, as well as adults. There's a grandfather, there's a mother, there's some really terrific characters. I believe they've been working on making it into an animated series that's only available on YouTube. But if you
mm,
could read, I mean, Christina, I think you would really enjoy the Wing Feather Saga if you haven't read it yet. So
mm.
that would be my second book. And then my third one was an adult novel that was published last year called The Incredible Winston Brown. And when I say a good book about good people trying to do good things, that book hits the mark on all of those things. The Incredible Winston Brown is by Sean Dietrich, who is also known as Sean of the South. He is a contemporary author. He's Christian. Again, I don't know. He is Protestant. I'm not sure what denomination he is, but it's about a sheriff of a small town in Florida. He is a bachelor, and he is kind of the father figure of the whole town. And he finds out he has terminal cancer. So he starts taking care of his affairs without letting anyone in the town know that he's dying. And it's a really beautiful story of his family, which is everybody in the town, and what he does for them and how they respond to him. I thought that was the best book I read last year. And this year, I don't think I've read anything better. So I'd have to say it's the best book I've read in the last 2 years. But I tell everyone about that book as well.
Oh, wonderful. Absolutely love good book recommendations. And I'll add them to my Christmas list because my husband's always looking for books to get me. So, so that's awesome.
I'm always asking for more shelves myself. I just need more shelves.
Oh, I can so identify. When we moved out to Fort Payne from Huntsville, we had a dear friend. Her husband is a gifted carpenter, and he created bookshelves for what we now call the manor room.
Oh, that's
We just have
wonderful.
bookshelves all the way around, and they're full. And we're like,
oh my gosh.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, my bucket list is I want to have the bookshelves with the ladder on the top, you know, the
Yes.
rolling ladder.
Yeah.
I really want a rolling ladder library. That's what I want.
Well, I
Someday.
personally think that in heaven, in our mansion, we'll get that.
Yes,
We'll put
totally.
all
And
the
there will
books.
be no books out of print in heaven.
Absolutely true. So
Or
one
no good books anyway.
Yeah, no, yeah, there's a lot of bad ones out there. I have to admit that. So one final question for you, a little bit of fun. So if you could go back in time and share one piece of advice with your 18-year-old self, what would it be?
My 18-year-old self. I would have to say, I grew up in a really big Catholic family when I was growing up, the schools I went to, they were nominally Catholic schools, but I didn't know any other practicing Catholics. I didn't know any other families that said the rosary every day or that had as many children in their family as my parents had and my aunts and uncles had until I went to college. And I would like to tell my 18-year-old self, just wait. Just wait. It's going to get so much better. That you're not alone in the world and you're not related to everyone in the world who's Catholic. There are other people out there.
Beautiful advice, regardless of the reasoning, because I think we do tend to fall into that of I'm alone, no one else understands me, no one else gets me, and
Right.
we haven't run into them yet.
Right.
Yeah. Beautiful advice, that's for sure. Well, Jessica, it has been such a pleasure getting to know
Thank you,
you,
Christina.
and I want to make sure, let's remind everybody where they can go in order to be able to sign up for their own subscription, be it as a Christmas gift or birthday gift, whenever during the year is always a good time to have a gift like this. So where can they go?
Catholic.store. It's right on the front page, Lion and Lamb. So if you just go to Catholic.store, it's there's no .com at the end of it. That is the whole name, Catholic.store, and just look for the Lion and Lamb subscription box. That will help you. And Christina, thank you. So my number one favorite thing is shopping for books, and my number two thing is talking about books. So this is wonderful. So much fun for me to be here.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the show, and everyone out there, know of our continued prayers that you may continue to find good books that will help you be able to do whatever it takes. So together we can tell the master of death, not today. God bless everybody.